In an election shock that no one saw coming, Reform UK, led by the controversial Nigel Farage, has delivered a crushing blow to the political establishment. As Reform surges ahead, securing a jaw-dropping victory, the unthinkable happens. King Charles, a figure historically seen as above the political fray, steps into the storm. The monarchy, traditionally a symbol of unity and neutrality, now finds itself entangled in the fierce battle between Farage's rising movement and the political elite. What does it mean when the king himself is urged to intervene against a man who has shaken the very foundations of British politics? The consequences are unfolding, and they're nothing short of explosive. The 2025 local elections have left Britain stunned. Farage, once dismissed as a fringe politician, has defied every expectation, leading Reform UK to an unprecedented victory. With 677 council seats, control of 10 local authorities, and 2 mayoralties, Farage's movement has proven it's no longer an underdog, but a formidable force. Even more shocking is his by-election win in Runcorn and Helsby, a district thought to be securely in Labour's hands. Farage's success is not just a fluke, it's a signal that the people are done with the old political games. The system, once insulated from the will of the electorate, is now feeling the weight of its own instability. For decades, British politics has been dominated by the two giants, the Conservative Party and Labour. But Farage's victory signifies something much deeper, a rupture in the very fabric of the political order. The electorate, long disenfranchised, has found a new voice. Reform UK has capitalised on widespread discontent with the current leadership, offering an alternative that speaks directly to those who feel ignored and betrayed. Farage, a master at tapping into this growing frustration, has positioned himself as the champion of the people. His victory isn't just a political triumph, it's a revolution in the making. As the shockwaves of Reform UK's success ripple through Westminster, the traditional political parties scramble to understand the scale of the challenge they face. Farage has already declared the end of the Conservative Party as it currently stands, and he's not alone in his criticism of Labour. According to leaked reports, the cracks within Labour are widening, with internal fractures threatening to tear the party apart. Farage has seized this moment, approaching influential figures in both parties, proposing a cross-party alliance to force a no-confidence vote in Keir Starmer's leadership. The whispers of rebellion within the Labour ranks grow louder each day, with some MPs already aligning with Reform, promising that the 2025 general election could be a turning point in British politics. But just as the political landscape seems set for a seismic shift, something extraordinary happens. In an unexpected twist, King Charles finds himself drawn into the storm. The monarchy, once seen as a neutral entity above politics, is now facing accusations of interference. According to sources close to the royal household, the king has been discreetly advised to speak out in the wake of Farage's rise, amidst warnings of a so-called democratic coup. This isn't a military uprising or the work of shadowy elites. It's the people, rallied behind Farage, who are shaking the foundations of the establishment. And as the political elite falters, the monarchy appears to be taking sides. This intervention raises a fundamental question. What happens when a royal figure steps into the political fray? For centuries, the monarchy has been a symbol of unity, a figurehead who stands above the chaos of day-to-day politics. But as Farage's movement continues to grow, the palace appears to have taken a stand, one that could further deepen the divide within Britain's political system. Farage's supporters see him as the antidote to the corruption and complacency that has infected both the Conservative and Labour parties. They believe he's the only one willing to challenge the status quo. Meanwhile, the establishment, including the monarchy, seems intent on stopping him. The question now is whether the king's involvement will escalate the political turmoil or bring about a resolution. Farage's supporters are already framing this as an attempt to silence the voice of the people. They view the royal intervention not as a safeguard for national unity, but as a last-ditch effort to preserve the crumbling political order. Farage, who has spent years cultivating an image of a political outsider, now finds himself at the centre of a battle that pits him against not just the establishment, but the monarchy itself. The very notion that the monarchy, traditionally neutral, would be pulled into the fray speaks volumes about the stakes of this moment. In the halls of Westminster, there is an undeniable sense of panic. The political class, once confident in their control over the nation's affairs, now feels under siege. But they are not just fighting Farage. They are fighting against the growing disillusionment of the electorate, who have made it clear that they no longer trust the old guard. Farage, for all his flaws, has become the rallying figure for those who have been ignored for far too long. And as the king prepares to make his move, one question remains. Will the monarchy's intervention quash the rising tide of reform, or will it fuel the flames of rebellion? The answer may very well determine the future of British politics. The stakes in this battle have never been higher, and as the tension escalates, the political system appears to be teetering on the edge of collapse. The king's involvement in the political drama has taken the situation to an entirely new level. Traditionally, the monarchy has maintained a position of neutrality, staying out of the tumult of British politics. But with Farage's Reform UK on the rise, the pressure on the royal family to act has grown unbearable. Farage, who has always seen himself as an outsider, now finds himself thrust into the heart of the political storm in ways he never imagined. His success in the elections has shattered expectations, but it has also provoked an intense reaction from the establishment, including the monarchy. It's not just the political elite that is under siege, but the very symbols of tradition that have long defined Britain. What's most striking about this moment is the speed with which it has unfolded. Just months ago, Farage's political career seemed to be in decline. His attempts to sway public opinion had faced repeated setbacks, and his political influence seemed limited to a vocal minority. But in the blink of an eye, Farage has transformed into one of the most powerful figures in British politics. Reform UK, once written off as a fringe party, is now in a position to disrupt the entire political order. With the 2025 general election on the horizon, the momentum is clearly on his side. But this success comes at a cost, as it has made him a target not only for the political establishment, but now for the monarchy as well. The leaked reports about King Charles's involvement show just how deeply the royal family is being drawn into the conflict. As Farage's movement gathers steam, there are mounting concerns among the political elite that his rise could signal the end of the two-party system that has dominated Britain for over a century. The king, a symbol of continuity and stability, is being asked to intervene in a way that no monarch has done in modern history. The idea that the crown might be used to halt a democratic wave is deeply troubling to many, including Farage's supporters, who view this as an act of interference in the will of the people. In some circles, the monarchy's actions are seen as an effort to protect the status quo. For centuries, the British political system has been based on the power of the elite, whether that be the aristocracy, the royal family, or the political class. But as Farage's populist movement gains traction, these elites are beginning to feel their grip slipping. Farage's rise represents a fundamental challenge to the established order. His message is simple: the system is broken, and only by tearing it down can Britain be saved. The king's potential intervention in this fight is seen by many as an attempt to preserve a political system that has been in place for generations, regardless of the will of the electorate. At the same time, Farage is no stranger to the forces aligned against him. Throughout his career, he has faced accusations of being a divisive figure, one who thrives on controversy and conflict. His political brand is built on challenging the establishment, and his success has always relied on portraying himself as the outsider. This has given him a unique ability to rally people who feel alienated by the mainstream political parties. Farage's supporters view him not just as a politician, but as a symbol of defiance against a system that they believe has ignored their concerns for far too long. For them, Farage is the embodiment of their frustrations, and his political victory represents more than just a win for Reform UK. It's a victory for the people who have been left behind by the system. But now, with the monarchy being dragged into the fray, the battle takes on a new dimension. The stakes are no longer just about political power. They are about the future of Britain itself. What does it mean for the country when the monarchy, a revered institution, is involved in the battle between Farage and the political establishment? For many, this is an unsettling development. The monarchy, long seen as above the fray of partisan politics, is now becoming a player in the game. This raises important questions about the role of the monarchy in a modern democracy and whether it has a right to intervene in such a high-stakes conflict. In Westminster, the atmosphere is tense. Farage's rise has sent shockwaves through both the Conservative and Labour parties. The Labour Party, in particular, is on the brink of collapse, as disillusioned MPs seek alternatives to Keir Starmer's leadership. The party, once the champion of the working class, is now seen by many as out of touch with the people it was meant to represent. Farage's ability to tap into this discontent has made him a powerful force in British politics, and many Labour MPs are beginning to question whether their future lies with their current leadership or with Reform UK. The Labour Party's failure to address issues like immigration, which has been a major point of contention for many voters, is one of the driving forces behind the rise of Reform UK. Farage has capitalised on this frustration, portraying himself as the only politician who is willing to stand up to the political elite and put the interests of the people first. His rhetoric is unapologetically populist, and it resonates deeply with those who feel that their voices have been ignored for far too long. This growing divide within Labour, coupled with the rise of Reform UK, has created a perfect storm, and it's one that threatens to upend the traditional party system. As the political landscape shifts, the monarchy's role in all of this becomes increasingly controversial. For many, the involvement of King Charles represents a final attempt to maintain the old order, one that has been increasingly challenged by the rise of populism and the growing disillusionment with the political system. But Farage and his supporters see it differently. To them, the King's potential intervention is not just an effort to preserve the status quo, it's an attempt to silence the will of the people. The stakes have never been higher, and as the drama continues to unfold, it's clear that the political future of Britain is hanging in the balance. As the storm intensifies, it becomes clearer that the clash between Farage's populist movement and the entrenched political establishment is no longer just a battle for seats in Parliament. It's a struggle for the very soul of British democracy. Farage's shock victory in the local elections has caused tremors through Westminster, and it's now impossible to ignore the fact that his rise represents a seismic shift in the political landscape. But what's even more chilling is the growing sense that the forces of the old order are prepared to do whatever it takes to protect their position, even if it means subverting the will of the people. This is the core of the conflict now. Can a system that has long been dominated by the elite withstand the tide of populism, or will the people finally have their say, no matter what? In the midst of this turmoil, the role of King Charles becomes even more pivotal. The leaked reports suggesting that the monarch has been urged to intervene in the political crisis have sparked an intense debate about the boundaries between the Crown and the government. For many, the monarchy's intervention is seen as a dangerous precedent, one that could set a troubling tone for the future. A monarchy that takes sides, a monarchy that weighs in on matters of national importance, risks losing the neutrality and respect that have long been its defining traits. The Crown, once an unshakable symbol of stability and unity, now finds itself in the eye of the storm, dragged into a political maelstrom that could have long-lasting consequences. But the real question remains, why now? Why is King Charles being asked to act in this moment of political upheaval? The answer lies in the gravity of Farage's rise and the direct threat it poses to the established order. For decades, Britain's political structure has been shaped by two dominant parties, the Conservatives and Labour. This binary system has been the foundation of the nation's political life, with both parties having a firm grip on power. But Farage's success signals the end of that era. His populist rhetoric, his unapologetic stance on issues like immigration, and his ability to channel the anger and frustration of ordinary people have made him a force to be reckoned with. He is no longer just a fringe figure. He is a political powerhouse, and the establishment knows it. The rise of Farage has left the political elite scrambling for answers. In their eyes, his success isn't just a challenge, it's an existential threat. The monarchy, as a pillar of that very elite, has been called upon to act as a bulwark against the tidal wave of change. King Charles's intervention is seen by some as the last line of defence in a political system that is under siege. Farage's movement isn't just about one man or one party, it's about an entire segment of the population that has grown disillusioned with the political system. It's about the people who feel unheard, the ones who believe that their concerns, especially around issues like immigration, the economy and national security, have been ignored by the powers that be. For them, Farage is not just a politician, he is a symbol of their frustration and their desire for change. But change, in this context, is a double-edged sword. The monarchy's involvement in this battle has complicated the issue even further. As the political elite rallies behind King Charles, accusing Farage of threatening the very fabric of British democracy, the populist leader's supporters are growing louder in their calls for reform. They see the Crown's intervention not as a noble act of guidance, but as an attempt to silence the people's voice. Farage, with his outsider persona and his unapologetic criticism of the establishment, represents everything that those in power have tried to suppress. To his supporters, the King's potential intervention is a betrayal of the very principles upon which the monarchy was founded. The monarchy, they argue, should remain neutral, a figurehead above the fray, not a participant, in political manoeuvring. And so the battle lines have been drawn: the monarchy, the political elite, and the media on one side, and Farage and his supporters on the other. The tension is palpable, and the stakes couldn't be higher. At the heart of this conflict is a question that reaches to the core of Britain's democratic values. Who has the right to determine the future of the country? Is it the political establishment, which has long held power, or is it the people who have grown increasingly disillusioned with a system that no longer seems to represent their interests? For many, the idea of a monarchy that steps into the political fray is deeply unsettling. The British monarchy has long been regarded as a stabilising force, a symbol of continuity in times of national turmoil. But now, as Farage's movement threatens to unravel the political order, the monarchy's role is being questioned. Is it truly impartial, or does it have a vested interest in maintaining the status quo? This is the central dilemma facing King Charles, who now finds himself at the centre of a storm that threatens not only his own legacy, but the future of the monarchy itself. But Farage is not one to back down from a fight. Throughout his career, he has faced opposition from all sides, yet he has always managed to rally his supporters and push forward with his vision. He understands that this is a battle for the soul of the nation, and he is prepared to fight for it. Farage knows that his rise is not just about winning elections, it's about changing the entire political landscape. And if that means challenging the monarchy itself, then so be it. For Farage, this is about more than just winning power. It's about reshaping Britain's political future. The media's role in this drama cannot be overlooked either. The press has been quick to weigh in on Farage's rise, with many outlets portraying him as a populist demagogue. But Farage's supporters view this media coverage as yet another example of the elite attempting to silence their voices. The media, they argue, is part of the same establishment that has failed them for decades. And as the monarchy's involvement becomes more pronounced, it's clear that the press is increasingly willing to back the establishment in its fight against Farage's rise. The situation in Westminster is more volatile than ever. MPs are beginning to question the political landscape, with some even contemplating crossing the aisle to join Farage's cause. Labour is on the brink of collapse, and the Conservatives are facing an existential crisis. In the midst of this uncertainty, Farage stands tall as the leader of a movement that is determined to reshape the future of British politics. His supporters are fired up, and they are ready for change no matter what it takes. But with the monarchy and the political elite lined up against him, Farage is about to face the biggest challenge of his career, and the future of Britain hangs in the balance. As King Charles faces mounting pressure to weigh in on the political crisis ignited by Nigel Farage's shocking rise, the ramifications of any royal intervention could echo far beyond the immediate moment. The monarchy, traditionally seen as a stabilising, unifying force above politics, is now finding itself thrust into the heart of a political storm. Historically, the royal family has maintained a careful distance from the daily squabbles of Westminster, choosing instead to be the steady hand guiding the nation in moments of true crisis. But now, with Farage's Reform UK party defying all odds and taking control of local councils, mayoralties, and earning seats in by-elections, the Crown's neutral stance is being called into question. This growing tension raises a crucial issue. When does neutrality give way to the need to defend an established order, especially when that order is under direct threat from a populist movement? The very idea that King Charles might need to take action against Farage sends shockwaves through the public. For those who support Farage, the mere suggestion of royal interference feels like a direct attack on their democratic right to be heard. Farage's rise isn't just a result of his personal appeal, it's a manifestation of a larger, deeper frustration among the electorate. These are voters who feel completely alienated by the Westminster elite, by a political class that seems to have forgotten them. The issues they care about, immigration control, a broken welfare system, and the erosion of British cultural identity, have been sidelined by the traditional political parties. Farage, in their eyes, represents the only politician brave enough to speak their language and fight their fight. The idea that the Crown could step in to halt this movement is nothing short of a betrayal to them. For Farage's supporters, King Charles's involvement in this battle would be seen as a declaration of war against the very essence of what they believe democracy should be. But for those who are firmly entrenched within the establishment, the situation is far more complicated. They see Farage's success not as a triumph of democracy, but as a dangerous populist uprising that threatens to dismantle the political norms they have relied on for decades. The elite's concerns are not just about losing power. They are about the very foundation of the British political system being destabilised. Farage's movement, with its populist rhetoric, its critique of the established institutions, and its appeal to disillusioned voters, poses a challenge to a system that has long been resistant to such outside forces. The monarchy, with its vast historical influence, could be seen as the last bastion standing between the forces of reform and the old guard that seeks to preserve the status quo. This is the dilemma facing King Charles: how to navigate a moment where his intervention could either legitimise or cripple the very system he is meant to protect. Farage's rising power and influence in British politics have caught many in the establishment off guard. For decades, he was written off as a fringe figure, dismissed as an eccentric populist whose ideas, while loud and attention-grabbing, lacked the substance to make a real difference. But the results of the 2025 local elections have proven everyone wrong. With Reform UK securing 677 council seats, taking control of 10 local authorities, and winning key mayoral races, Farage has emerged as a formidable political force. His message resonates with a significant portion of the electorate, particularly those in the working-class communities who feel neglected by the major parties. His appeal isn't just about policies. It's about his direct challenge to the political elite and his promise to restore power to the people. In this context, it's easy to see why the establishment feels threatened. Farage is no longer a fringe player. He's a legitimate contender for power. His party, Reform UK, has built momentum with a clear populist message that capitalises on the frustrations of the public. Farage's critics, many of whom come from the political class or the traditional media, see his growing influence as a direct challenge to their influence. But it's more than just a challenge. It's a threat to their very way of life. Farage has made it clear that he won't play by the established rules. He has openly declared that he wants to see an end to the Conservative Party, and he's not shy about exposing the fractures within Labour. The political establishment is now in a state of panic, desperately trying to maintain control. The monarch's potential involvement only amplifies the sense of crisis. The idea that King Charles could be called upon to step in is deeply unsettling for many. For the monarchy to get involved in a political battle, especially one as contentious as this, would mark a dramatic shift in the role of the Crown. While the monarchy has always played a role in national unity, it has never before been asked to actively intervene in a partisan political crisis of this magnitude. The historical precedent for such a move is thin at best, and it raises serious questions about what role the Crown should play in the future of British politics. Many would argue that the monarchy's involvement in such matters could erode its traditional sense of impartiality and diminish the respect it commands from the public. The British monarchy has long been viewed as an institution that stands above the political fray, serving as a symbol of continuity and stability. But if King Charles were to take sides, even tacitly, he would risk becoming a partisan figure, embroiled in the very political struggle that has divided the nation. For Farage's supporters, the possibility of royal intervention is seen as an affront to the democratic principles they hold dear. They argue that Farage's rise is the result of a long overdue reckoning with the political elite, and that any attempt to thwart his progress is an attempt to silence the will of the people. They believe that Farage is the only leader who is willing to take on the establishment, and they view any effort to suppress his movement as an attempt to crush their voices. The monarchy's potential involvement only strengthens this belief, feeding into a narrative of elitism and entrenched power. For Farage's supporters, the monarchy's neutrality has long been a comforting thought, a pillar of stability. But the very idea that the crown could be used as a tool to undermine their cause is a dangerous precedent. The stage is set for a historic showdown, with Farage and his supporters calling for an overhaul of the political system and the monarchy. Standing as the last vestige of the traditional order, the battle lines are drawn. Will the monarchy stand firm and defend the old ways, or will it back the forces of change represented by Farage and his populist movement? This moment represents a tipping point for both British politics and the monarchy itself. As tensions rise and the future of the nation hangs in the balance, one thing is certain: the consequences of this conflict will reverberate through British politics for generations to come. The political battle unfolding before us is not just a struggle for power, it's a battle for the very soul of Britain. In the weeks and months to come, we will witness whether the forces of reform or the defenders of the old order will emerge victorious. But one thing is clear: the future of British democracy is at a crossroads, and the actions of King Charles will play a pivotal role in determining which direction the nation will take. This moment in history will be remembered as the turning point in Britain's political evolution, a moment where the monarchy's role in the future of democracy was forever changed. The notion that King Charles might be drawn into the political fray is one that strikes at the heart of British tradition. The monarchy has long been a symbol of continuity, transcending the chaotic, often brutal nature of partisan politics. For centuries, the crown has remained a steadfast pillar, ensuring that the nation's leadership is united under a singular figurehead, irrespective of the winds of political change. But now, in the wake of Farage's monumental rise, the very nature of this neutrality is being called into question. Farage's success has brought to light a fundamental rift within the nation, exposing how deep the divisions run between the political elite and the people they serve. This isn't merely a battle for political supremacy, it's a clash of ideologies, a struggle between the establishment and the disenfranchised voters who have long felt ignored and betrayed. Farage's rise isn't just about securing votes, it's about harnessing the power of frustration. His populist movement taps into the anger of those who feel left behind by the political class, who are tired of promises unfulfilled and policies that cater to the wealthy or the establishment, at the expense of ordinary citizens. For years, these voters have been told that their concerns about immigration, crime, and the disintegration of communities are fringe issues not worthy of serious political attention. Farage has turned that narrative on its head. He's made these concerns the focal point of his campaign, rallying those who feel marginalised by both Labour and the Conservative Party. For Farage's supporters, the success of Reform UK is not just a victory at the ballot box, it's a declaration that they will no longer be silenced. And in this context, King Charles's involvement could become the ultimate symbol of an establishment trying to cling to power at all costs. But the monarchy's neutrality isn't just about standing apart from political battles, it's also about maintaining national unity. The crown has long been viewed as the ultimate unifier, particularly in times of crisis. King Charles, inheriting a legacy of monarchs who have steered the country through wars, economic turmoil, and cultural shifts, has been expected to continue this role. But with Farage's rise challenging the very foundations of Britain's political system, the monarch now faces a new challenge: how to preserve unity when the political landscape is so fractured. Should King Charles remain neutral, or should he step in and take a stand in favour of one side? This question is complicated by the growing sense that any royal intervention might not be neutral at all, but could instead be viewed as an attempt to preserve the status quo. To many, the rise of Reform UK under Farage's leadership represents a threat to that very status quo. Farage, once dismissed as a fringe figure, has now become a mainstream player in British politics. His success is not just a reflection of his own popularity, but of a seismic shift in the political landscape. Reform UK's rapid ascension signals a shift away from the traditional political parties, particularly the Conservative Party and Labour. Farage's message resonates with those who feel abandoned by both sides, particularly on issues such as immigration, national sovereignty, and the perceived erosion of British identity. These voters, many of whom supported Brexit, see Farage as their champion, the only figure willing to take on the political establishment and call for real change. To them, the idea of a royal intervention to halt this movement is anathema to the principles of democracy. Farage's supporters argue that their voices are being drowned out by a political class that has failed them for years. And for many, any attempt by the monarchy to intervene in the political process would only deepen the sense of disenfranchisement and betrayal. The political elite, however, sees things differently. To them, Farage's rise represents a dangerous, populist uprising that threatens to undo the progress they have worked for over the years. Farage's critiques of immigration, the European Union, and the political establishment hit at the core of what many in Westminster hold dear. His policies are seen as radical, and his refusal to toe the party line has made him a polarising figure. But his appeal cannot be denied. With Reform UK now controlling key local authorities, mayoralties and council seats, it's clear that Farage's message is resonating with a significant portion of the electorate. This has sent shockwaves through the political establishment, who are now faced with the very real possibility that their hold on power may be slipping. As the pressure mounts, whispers from within the royal household suggest that King Charles has been urged to step in. The idea that the monarchy might become embroiled in a political battle of this magnitude raises serious questions about the role of the crown in modern British politics. Historically, the monarchy has remained aloof from the political process, offering support to the government of the day without becoming directly involved. But with Farage's rise challenging the traditional political order, the Crown's neutrality is being tested like never before. Should King Charles take sides, it would be a dramatic departure from the centuries-old convention of royal impartiality. It would also risk alienating a significant portion of the British public, who see Farage as their voice, their advocate in the halls of power. The consequences of royal intervention could be far-reaching. If King Charles were to align himself with the political establishment, it could embolden the forces working to suppress Farage's movement and delegitimise his supporters. This could have profound implications for the future of British democracy. On the other hand, if King Charles were to take a more active role in defending the traditional political system, it could lead to further polarisation. The monarchy could find itself caught between two opposing forces, the populist movement led by Farage and the entrenched political establishment determined to preserve its power. In either case, the monarchy's role in British politics would be forever altered. For ICE now, the situation remains tense, with both sides of the political divide awaiting the next move. Will the monarchy remain above the fray, or will King Charles be forced to take a stand in the ongoing political struggle? As the political landscape in Britain continues to shift, one thing is certain: the stakes are higher than ever. Farage's rise marks a turning point in British politics, and the monarchy's response could very well determine the future direction of the nation. In the coming days and weeks, the nation will be watching closely. King Charles, as the head of state, is in an unprecedented position. The decision he makes, or chooses not to make, could define his reign and the future of the British monarchy. Whether he can maintain the Crown's long-standing tradition of neutrality, or whether he will be forced to intervene in a political battle that has already divided the country, remains to be seen. But as the pressure builds and the stakes grow ever higher, it's clear that this is a moment in history that cannot be ignored. Farage's challenge to the status quo has already shaken the foundations of British politics, and the monarchy's response may just be the final piece in this high-stakes puzzle. The future of Britain hangs in the balance, and the next chapter in this political drama promises to be one for the history books. As we watch this unprecedented political showdown unfold, one thing is certain. The future of British politics and the monarchy's place within it could be drastically reshaped in the coming months. Farage's rise, King Charles' potential intervention, and the political elite's raison.